How to protect your crypto in 2022. Moderated by Muhammed Ahsan Khan, Salaar. With Anita, Kalergis, Ipsum Consulting, Stefan Walbroehl, Halborn, Dr. Jason Gamage, Goldilock, and Stephen Beyer, Oak Security.
Okay, so it's past 12. Good afternoon, everyone. Our moderator, Muhammed, has just sent us a message. Unfortunately, he's unable to participate. So the gentleman here allowed Crypto Granny, that is me, to moderate this time. So I want to welcome everyone to Dr. Jason and Stephen and Stefan.
Stefan, yes.
Yes, too many S's. And let's start by introducing one after another. So please, very briefly, introduce yourself. And also, if you want to comment something on, in a general level, as when we discuss about security on cryptocurrencies in 2022.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Dr. Jason Gamage. I'm Chief Information Security Officer for Goldilock. And I'm bringing my 32 years of information security experience up here to try to help bring awareness to information security in general and cryptocurrency. So one of the things that you asked me to talk about was just something that I find interesting. One of the things that I've been trying to change the way that people look at information, and when it comes to sensitive information, is asking yourself a question. Instead of how to encrypt it and how to, to put access control, who can access it and things like this, first thing you should be asking is, does it need to be online? And then the next thing you should ask yourself is, does it always have to be online? And if no is the answer to either two of those, then you need to start then thinking about what you can do. So that's something that my company has brought forward is a fully remote operated air gap solution. And so it basically gives you the ability to store a portion of your crypto, either keys or a shard, anything you want or any sensitive information offline. And when you need it, you can still access it using a non-connected to the internet method. So you can then make a phone call, for instance, and go through some authentication to be able to open that port so you can be able to access the data, or you can then redisconnect it from the internet. So it's not always connected. So in this day and age, when everybody's putting everything into the cloud, we're saying, well, maybe you should stop and think first, should you be putting it in the cloud?
Right. Stephen.
So first of all, thank you for the last-minute moderation change. Hold it down. So I'm Stefan Walbroehl, the co-founder of Halborn, cybersecurity firm that does blockchain and also Web 2 solutions, risk assessments. So thanks for having me again. I was in Malta before. It was a great time. So what does security really mean for me in the blockchain world? When you look at traditional security, you have there's three areas of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The CIA triad, and security can mean different things depending on really what your main focus is around each one. If confidentiality is important to you, then of course you could use something like Monero, or use Bitcoin the correct way to maintain your privacy. Also, integrity, if that's important to you, integrity is making sure that your balance is not changed. So sometimes it's solutions for that can be actually a centralized exchange may be okay for that because you may lose that or get hacked from like some type of DeFi flash loan or something. And availability is making sure that you have things that are available for you. So of course, if you leave it on a centralized exchange, you can get locked out or seized. Maybe there's some type of manage. So there's not a right answer for anything. It really depends on what is important for you as far as security.
Stefan.
Yes, hi, I'm Stefan Beyer. I am the co-founder of Oak Security. We are very similar to Halborn, in fact. We are in friendly competition usually. And we provide security audits for smart contracts, layer 1 solutions, bridges, anything related to blockchain technology. And in terms of what interests me personally in security, I think there's a very interesting trade-off between making things usable and practical, but at the same time being secure. You know, we all know the difficulties of using a hardware wallet and, you know, the number of steps you have to take just for a simple interaction with a smart contract. And it's a big problem that needs to be resolved if normal people, rather than cryptographers or security experts, are meant to be secure interacting with crypto.
Thank you. I just need to check that you are at the back row also hearing us well. You are? Okay,
Great.
Good. Thank you. So, as for myself, Anita Kalergis is my name. I'm also known as Crypto Granny. And what Crypto Granny does, well, I challenge you guys who are the active actors in the space. I'm the one who comes and asks probably way too many times why or what for. So you remember that there is so many newbies out there, there is so many grannies and pa's out there with a lot of money, curiosity and interest around this space, but you guys keep forgetting to speak clearly or simple enough so all of grannies and pa's can get it. So that's what Crypto Granny does. I challenge you and I love it. So I have the guys around here, and let's start with you, Stefan, this time. There are hard wallets, there are cold wallets, there are paper wallets, there is all these different wallets. What is your view or opinion as of what is the best way, especially for a newbie, but even to an oldie, to start with as approaching this theme of how to secure when the wallet selection is so big?
Yeah, so I think that it depends on what you plan to use crypto for. So if it's for long-term custody where you want to hold on to this and not trade it on an exchange or use any DeFi protocols, then a hardware wallet is best for that, because think of it as like a time capsule where it's secured and only you can access it. So that if that's your intention, that's probably the best one. If you're trying to actively trade it, on maybe some DeFi protocols, you could still use a hardware wallet, but you could attach it to what's known as like a hot wallet, like MetaMask, for example. People know it the best. So that's the most recommended way to use it, rather than keeping your key, your private key inside of the software hot wallet. And if it's a crypto granny and you don't know anything about having any hardware wallet or software wallet, and all they know is how to buy it on Coinbase, sometimes it's okay there, because people that are new to this can make one accident and expose their mnemonic passphrase, and that'll take all of your funds from there. Sometimes maybe the trust in the custody to protect it may be the right choice for them too. So that's really my recommendations for the three clouds.
Your view on the same, Stefan?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Stephen has said. I would add that there's no single good solution, right? So it really depends what you are using the crypto for, and also the risk involved with each of these. So I generally like a three-layered approach. So you might have a hardware wallet for everything or anything that that is really valuable and you are unlikely to use. You might have a mobile phone wallet for payment solutions, like you have a credit card on you that has a certain limit on it. You don't want that to be millions of dollars that you can easily lose. And then you might have a browser wallet for interacting with smart contracts, where you just keep a very small amount that you need. And if you then have to move a large amount to smart contracts, you move it with your hardware wallet connected to a browser wallet. So different layers for different use cases.
Dr. Jason, I have a friend who keeps telling me that the 2FA, I should never have it on the same phone where I hold my SIM card. So what would you comment on this? I mean, two-factor authenticator I do need, and then the approach obviously is for all of us that we have mobile phone and that's what we use and that's it. But then the 2FA. Any comments on this from your angle?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So first, 2FA is just one form of security. Multi-factor authentication, which is MFA, is better. That's where you have multiple things, not just two things. So you have, usually typically something you know, something you are, and something you have. What we've been doing is calling something new. It's called, multi-factor 3. So it's having something you actually have to do on top of the things that you know. And that's where, in this case, if you've got a key, you store it on something offline that you have a different way of accessing that you can activate your MFA that way. Because we're talking about, typically large amounts of money, or even if they're not as large, they're probably very important amounts of money for people. That they've invested into this, and they absolutely can't afford to lose this. So, it's like having control on who can have access to it, and yourself being the only one, is, storing those authentication keys offline so that you still need to be able to access those when you need them, and then disconnect them. That goes back to the theory, if you're going to be connected and it's going to be online, does it have to always be online? And, I think the answer is typically no. So look at, instead of multi-factor authentication, is, you want to be able to do something even beyond that. But at a minimum, 2FA is what you should have for anything that you have on the internet. It doesn't really matter. That's going to give you some level of protection. It's not that great, and of course, quantum computing is going to change things a lot. That's where, having things that aren't connected, that can't be hacked, is going to be really important in the future as well.
It's awesome to add to that, 2FA, two-factor authentication. I think things are mostly going like 3FA now. So if you've ever used something like Coinbase, it's put in your password, and then you want to withdraw something. It's, I'm going to send you a text, so here's your second one, SMS, and I see you connected from a new browser, so go and approve the browser there. So it's like 3 different types of authentication as well. It's becoming more and more secure. Of course, a little bit longer, harder to use, but it's better to have that protection than lose all your money.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, there have been a number of cases where 2FA platforms have been hacked, and it's not the perfect solution, and usually there's some social engineering involved. If you can be scammed into giving away one factor, it's easy enough to get scammed giving away the second factor. So social engineering, phishing, and scams in general are very...
SIM swapping is also a social engineering attack,
yeah.
typically. And honestly, 30% of all hacks have a social engineering component to it. So, 2FA is definitely, minimum, but not really recommended. You want to have something that's more than that.
Yeah, it's always the people are always the weakest link in the security chain of things too. If you could trick somebody, it's social engineering is always the most common tactic. Yeah, SIM swapping is very, very scary. It's having 2 different ways of SIM swapping. People can, even at a Verizon or AT&T or a mobile app store, going and colluding with the people that can actually swap the phone number to you, so you can get that second factor.
Yeah, and that's where you can have solutions that to be able to stop the SIM swapping is where you add another factor. So when you do send, you get a text, it's actually going to ask you a question. And you're the only one that should know this. And it's going to be like a word matching, typically, type of a scenario. It'll send you a word, and you know the counter word to that. And you've given them a list of like 4 different words, that you can then use to be able to do that. Plus you're whitelisting the number, so there's different ways of preventing that. But still, there are more secure ways of using a SIM authentication, but not a lot of people out are using that right now.
Okay, so...
so the answer to your question, I'm sorry, is it's never great to have everything in one place.
True, yeah. That I got out of all of this. But Granny's big struggle and the question of 2022 is, what happens to my cryptos when I die? I mean, obviously, I have my kids, I have my grandchildren, and I am investing in some small amounts on the cryptos, and then when I'm gone, then what? I do know everything about the secret phrases, but what? Do I divide to my lawyer? I don't know, the 6, and then the other 6 to my one daughter, and the third 6 to my second daughter, and then making sure that my lawyer wants or the exchange gets my death certificate and my will, whatever. This is something no one discusses or talks about like seriously today. And you don't need to be old like myself, but actually all of us, accidents happen. So what is your view on this? What happens to cryptos when I die?
Yeah, that's a very interesting problem, and I've actually worked with a couple of startups a while ago that tried to solve this. And they, at first, they started off trying to do complex cryptography, multi-party computation to have some sort of dead man switch or something like this that, if you don't answer, you are dead and your, your information is revealed to your heirs. But they all ended up going with a custodial solution in the end. So as far as I know, there's currently not a good solution to this problem. Apart from explaining your partner or whoever the people you trust how everything works and make sure they have access if something happens to you. That could also be a trusted third party, of course, like a lawyer or something like this. But it's of course not ideal in this decentralized world where we try to have everything independent of third parties.
Yeah, I think that the dead man switch solution is interesting because if you can, fake a death, then that could be a security risk in itself, of allowing somebody to get into it. I think having the mnemonic phrase backup is, a risk. Having anybody exposed to that, like, do you trust your lawyer? So you could split that up among other parties. They can agree to it to reconstruct it and access the wallet, but you certainly have to leave something there because you can't brute force your way back into the wallet. There's that's part of the security of cryptography, where there is almost as many atoms in the universe as there are bit 32 combinations of a private key. So good luck trying that, even with quantum computing today. So you want to leave something there if it's a large amount.
Dr. Jason, what is your view on this? What will happen to the cryptos when I die? What should I do? How could I secure that my heirs will get what is there when I'm no longer here?
Yeah, as everyone spoke of, I've looked into this a little bit, and what I'm seeing is there's a number of startup companies that are helping to do basically a legal service of being a custodial of your keys. So they have access to it, and they know who your heirs are, and they're able to access it and release it. This is a really complex situation, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for new companies to come up with new solutions. It's something I've even been thinking about how to use, offline storage and be able to, put this in. But at the end of the day, it is really tricky. I mean, you can print out paper, you can have something stored somewhere. I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it, but it's not even if you die, but it's like, there's just so many other ways that people in the past have lost keys. They have it on their laptop and someone throws it in the pool. I saw a video on that. That was kind of funny, but I'm like, why didn't you keep a backup somewhere? But anyways, I don't really know if there's any really good solutions, but what I have seen is that there are a number of startups that are focusing on addressing this, and they're coming up with some very innovative, creative ways to ensure that what happens is done. Probate is a very difficult and complex legal process to go through to begin with, and it's going to have to also have some changes into the legislation on how probate is handled with cryptocurrency is going to be one of the key factors. And as that happens, they'll probably define more of what you have to do to be able to have access into that. So and again, now you're talking about putting a key back into something that's regulated, because probate is always going to be regulated.
Yeah, and that's exactly where my headache comes from, because we have this amazing technology that gives us the trust as such, the code, as it's transparent, it's immutable, and then all of a sudden you are there and you don't have a way to kind of make sure that, what is there will go to the heirs in a way that you don't jeopardize the security. But you mentioned custodial wallets, so what is on your thoughts around on custodial wallets? Is that a must or a no must, Dr. Jason?
I think that's an individual choice. I mean, honestly, it really depends on the person. Some people would rather nobody gets anything. So I mean, it's really it's up to the individual on how they want to do that. And if they want to bypass probate and directly give money, I mean, it's possible to do it with cryptocurrency. But again, this runs into a lot of interesting legal challenges here on how exactly this is going to be in the future. I think it's too early to really know how that's going to be, and it's an individual decision on how to do it. And hopefully someone will figure out some better solutions than what's currently there.
Yeah, I think that having custody or a custodial wallet is not right or wrong. It depends, like you had said, what's your purpose for having that? If it's purely to have self-sovereignty, then a custodial wallet is not a good thing. You want to have self-custody of that, and you are the bank. Sometimes people can't be trusted with themselves, so this is why they have, let somebody else have custody of this, because it is very easy to mess up and expose like a key, and there's no help desk that you can call for Bitcoin to, unlock your wallet password or reverse the funds or everything. So there's a solution for both.
Stefan.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And for a lot of people, a custodial solution might actually be better. If you don't know anything about crypto and you don't know how cryptography works and how to secure a key, it might be better to let a professional do that. One thing to add to that is, obviously, there's, it sort of defeats the purpose a bit of decentralization and self-sovereignty. And also, it's very important to choose the right custodian solution. There's no point replacing banks as a trusted third party with someone unregulated in a different country that you've never heard of, right? So you have to be very careful with your due diligence and also make sure that they are around for a while and what happens if they stop being around.
Great.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a good point. Is is choose the country where you want to do that is probably really important as well.
And it changes all the time too.
Great. But now our time is up. Stefan, Steven, Dr. Jason, thank you very much for your time and your very good insights on the theme. And thank you everyone for staying with us. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Anita.
Thanks.